Morning, everybody. So completely and utterly missed yesterday. I didn't do any vlogs while doing the boat trip. I didn't have any time. I couldn't. Every time I tried to start something happened. On the boat, there were people around. Anyway, when we finished day one on the beach, a barn owl appeared. We were just about to get back to the car, and my wife said, "What's that?" And it took off, and it looked like a short-eared owl. And I got the video on it, really high ISO. I mean, I'm guessing you're only seeing about 10 or 15 seconds. It was awful. It was like 12,800 ISO. But when the camera focused, I went, that's a barn owl, look at the face. And it looks darker. I think that's maybe why it threw me. Obviously it was later at night, but that looks like a barn owl, and it was hunting around the golf course. It was going down. So that first night getting here, I said to my wife on the way in, we only got 2 hours, or we just dump the bags and go for a drive. And what a good decision it was to do that. Anyway, the next day, so finally, the big day, the big whale watching day, we got out the hotel for the first day, saw what was around us. And I was just getting my stuff ready to have just a wander in the car park. And my wife looked out the shutters and said, "Oh, what's that bird on the wire?" And I just looked out, and it was a red-tailed hawk perched right on a wire. I just put my clothes on, got out here, and it flew off. And I was angry at myself for about half an hour, 40 minutes after that. But while she was getting ready to go for the boat ride, I went for a walk around the motel. And the first thing was a house finch, one of the house finches singing at the top of this wire. I'll have tried to clean up the audio as best I can with Audacity software. But I think I got 2 angles from it, but we'll see how I do. And down the bottom end of the hotel, there was a satellite dish. For you people podcasts, remember I always say, listening to the podcast, go to the vlog and you see all the corresponding footage. A couple of California scrub jays. I got one in Vancouver in 2019. Before I was a birder, but something was making a racket in a bush, and I used to film stuff anyway. So I got it as a lifer back then, technically. But on this trip, it's a real proper lifer from photos. That was a still from video that I used. But they were on top of this satellite dish, and this is maybe their territory. Maybe they hold territories, and I'm going to see them every day. Got all our bits together. I said to Anna, just sit in the car. I'm going to vlog for 5 minutes about the house finch. And when I put my camera up, and I just happened to glance behind me, and I don't know if it was the same one, but a red-tailed hawk was almost exactly in the same position on a wire opposite our door. And I quickly threw my camera down, and I spent 10-15 minutes. I put it on camera on the tripod. I got full body footage while it just looked around. I don't know what it's looking at here. It's just all concrete and tarmac, nothing to see. But then eventually I zoomed right in on its head to get all that lovely face and eye detail. This is, I've never filmed them before. And eventually, what was the next thing? Oh yeah, I switched to photos, and because I was so close, I could switch to vertical to fill the frame, which I did. Took a few different angle photos of it, and hoping it would have a scratch or a preen, but it just sat there. I'd say juvenile. Usually juveniles are only that chill, but that threw off my vlogs, and I had to do it today. But isn't that stunning? That's just nailed it. I mean, I was really upset. I was like, one of those things, when you miss a bird, and even for years, you're like, I'm going to get a picture of that bird. I'm going to get a better picture. I'm going to get better video one day. That's been bugging me for years. So that's what happened. What I'm going to do here, I'll give you a brief overview of the birds, because I think I'm going to do the boat trip as a separate vlog, a whale watching vlog, so that other people can look at it and it's not too bird heavy. I think it requires that, because I learned a lot of information, mistakes I made, not massive mistakes, but just little things I wish I'd known, things I think need to be passed on, things in terms of like water coming off of the top deck, going to the loo, motion sickness, very important stuff. And we kind of went to the slightly wrong whale watching place, only like 20 meters away on foot. But it's one of those things where you don't read instructions fully. You kind of like, well, it's there, we'll get there and we'll find it, and it's, no big deal. We just went into one booth and they said, oh, you want the other one. That was it. So no problem, don't worry. I'll put it in a separate vlog. So we went on this, we thought we were going on the bigger boat, went on a sort of medium-sized boat. They make you sign a waiver. You go on the boat, you get some briefings, and you get set up. So I'll do a separate, so I'll just go straight to the birds, because I'll do a separate vlog. On the trip, we saw common murres, guillemots. It might be that America call them common murres, we call them guillemots in the UK. The sea was full of those. So I took some pictures, because I've got them in this country close up. And when I did get the chance, I took some closer ones. And I don't think I've got any flight shots that I'm going to keep. And the sea otter we saw last night, the night before, the first night, there were a couple around the harbour. So don't worry, you'll get your fill of those. I kind of knew this would happen. They did say you see them around the marina and the harbour. So even though there was a big panic that first night of filming it out in the ocean and having scrubbing its face, no need to worry, you're going to see them. And I'm just going to get to a bit which is incredible after the boat ride. Now on the boat ride, I was getting pictures of things I thought might be lifers, might not. I'll just go for the big one to start with, which was we were filming the humpback whales, killer whales. Awesome. Yeah, I mean the humpbacks, most of the humpback, I'll throw some footage over. I got some photos of the humpbacks, the tails, but mostly filmed because I could do. The boat was quite stable. So I did a lot of filming of the tail flukes and things like that. And just the body. I mean, there were several breaches, but it's impossible. You have no idea where they're going to breach from. I tried filming, and you stand there for like 4 minutes just filling your phone up with video footage, and it never emerges. And then you put it down and suddenly they jump out of the water, but it could be over there and you miss it. You'd have to have it constantly happening. We did that for what felt like about an hour and a half. And then we moved on and found some killer whales. First time I've ever seen killer whales. And I got like a breach, not a full coming out completely out of the water, but maybe about 80% of it. The tail was still in the water. And they were going around with a couple of youngsters. So I don't think I'm going to have to look at the footage and see there was some food, meat and flesh in one of the mouths when they came up. They were talking about it afterwards. But while I was doing that, this massive big, I was always looking out for most of the birds were the same out there, the guillemots, the California gulls, the Hermann's gulls, and the Brandt's cormorants. But occasionally something would show up, and this big, like just a barn door of a bird came in. I went, oh, look at that huge thing. And I've looked it up now. Apparently it's a black-footed albatross, and apparently not too rare. You do get them here, but a beast of a bird. You just went with its wings outstretched, just a barn door coming in. And that landed and gave a good show going. I've probably got a good 7 or 8 good usable flight shots of that. There was another thing that I thought it might be, it looked like a fulmar. So I've done some digging, and it keeps coming back as fulmar. And you get the fulmars here, northern fulmars in the northern hemisphere, but this was grey, and Merlin wasn't recognizing it. And I think at least Google Lens was saying it's a fulmar. And I've looked it up and it was grey, and it said they do come in a dark morph. So dark morph fulmar. Happy to be corrected. There were probably, I mean, I didn't take a picture. The tern, I assume, was a Forster's tern. We'll see those on this trip. It's not a big deal. I've got plenty of good ones down there. It's a Bolsa Chica, that's it. Bolsa, I think it's closed, isn't it, Bolsa, in Spanish. Anything else in the water? Sea lions, we've got this, I'll show you a quick big squad of sea lions going through the water. Filmed that. Just couldn't have gone better for my wife's birthday. That was my wife's birthday present. And even the crew said it's never that busy, particularly the orca killer whales are never that showy. That was just, and they stayed out a bit longer just for that, because they don't often see it. I think maybe when they do that, they do a bit of tagging on the side. They have a photographer along, that's the other thing, that takes pictures of all the animals. So if you've not got professional equipment, he puts all the stuff up afterwards on the screen, computer screen, and you can go in and pick stuff and he'll send it. And he says it's a good price. So I think, because back in the day, photographers were like, wanted 200-300 for photos. Don't know what they are now, but that's a good little thing he's got. He comes on board every trip. He gives you a talk at the beginning to say he's there and he's going to be taking pictures. He had the 100-500 lens. I think it was on a full frame body. So I was getting the closer shots, obviously. I saw the killer whale. He got the killer whale breach, and it was like a section of the frame, whereas I had it kind of filling the frame. Bit of competition there. Anyway, I think, let me just look at I'm going to refer to my list for anything that I miss. So right now, as of today, I'm at 54 species and 14 lifers, give or take. Right. Oh yeah. Okay. Some more things here. Some other things I didn't. These I'm gonna have to check on these at some point when I've got more time. I can't dedicate too much time at the moment to digging right deep into birds. But a Pacific loon would be a lifer for me. Whether that's an American name for something I already have, I don't know. If it's a Pacific diver, it might be new to me. So I've put it as a tick. I definitely have a red-throated diver, and that was out there. Those were flying. Anything flying. They look like cormorants at first, but they do fly slightly differently, so they catch your eye. Forces. Oh yeah, going out on the boat when we first started, immediately I knew the flight pattern of it was a belted kingfisher, at least a kingfisher, and I got a couple of snaps that landed on the mast of a ship. I got a bit of shaky, horrible shaky video. It was back lit from the right, and it was constantly going behind one of the wires on the mast. I couldn't get any good, but I just did it for record purposes. And again, when we came back and we were in a coffee, we flew. I got one picture off, which is, I'm going to clean this up. Hopefully it comes out okay. It's very, very strong lighting, so it might not be a keeper, but it flew past us while we were having a coffee out on this deck. Then when we got, this was when we were back, a great blue heron, first one of the trip, out having a preen. Some people were looking over. Always look for people looking. What are people looking at that's interesting? Looked over, and yeah, there it was. No wind. It's lovely here. Tripod up. Filmed it for a while. Having a preen. When you get the camera on things, people start looking as well. But I was telling everyone, I say, yeah, these things are crazy. They eat gophers. They're like, there's so many videos online of these things like on golf courses and just pulling gophers out of holes. And you see the little hands and the feet go, and they swallow these things. They eat everything. Right, I think that's most of the stuff for the sea now. Northern fulmar. Oh yeah, sorry, another one. This is another lifer, western grebe, little yellow beak, 3 or 4 of them moving around. They came in. Black-footed albatross. Yes, I think that's it. So the western grebe, that was a nice one. We got back to the marina, and yeah, so it finished off with a great blue heron, and then we saw we were going to go for a walk to get something to eat. After we had a coffee at this place here, 4.9 out of 5. Yeah, very good place. You always think the places on the marina are going to be a bit more pricey. It probably is slightly more pricier than buying coffee elsewhere, but it had a deck outside. You could sit and look at the sea lions and the wildlife. But as we came out and we're going to the car, some people were looking over, and I said to Anna, let's be cheeky and have a look. People for putting their cameras out, and I thought, what could it be? It's probably just a sea lion. It was actually an otter. It was I assume a female mother otter, and she had her cub on her chest, and she was just kind of like floating there, and it was asleep in its chest. Horrible lighting. I was trying to desperately find an angle because the mother's face was white, and the pup was really dark, and I was struggling with the exposure. Then somebody would step in and their shadow would cast over the pup or the mother's face and throw my exposure off. And I don't know what it's going to be like until I clean it up in post. These things aren't going to be coming up until when I get back. I just simply won't have the time to sit and edit pretty much any of this stuff unless we're like trapped in for some rain or something. Anyway, that was a great little bit of footage to add to it. So you're going to have no trouble with the sea otters. You're going to get plenty of those, and I assume once we go for a walk around the marina on foot, we haven't done that properly yet, go for a nice long walk and be able to see things on foot, that all these things I've been leaving, like the Brandt's cormorants and probably other seabirds, will start popping up for some nice shots. Now let's move on. We went to the beach, back to the beach. We went with the barn owl and all the willets, and we tried to go further south, and I forgot this, but because it's been 15 odd years, or I can't remember how long it's been. I think we tried this decades ago. It's actually a private golfing area. I should tell you what it's called. Sorry, this is bad of me. Country Club West. I think that's the sort of area. You can't drive all the way along, even though there's a coastal road. You can't drive all the way around it. It's cut off. I don't know if it's private land but because it's lots of golf clubs. I just saw the security huts and turned the car around and went, okay, I'm not paying a fee to whatever it is. But by doing that, it meant we kind of went inland a bit and in and out all these back roads. And by going through all the back roads, all these little birds started popping up. And I got to one point where everything I was pointing my camera at was a new species. So let's go. Right. So the first thing was I found this out later, so I can just put the birds up. We drove into a little car parky area. No cars in there, but just wooded, and birds on the ground straight away. Golden crowned sparrow. So a lot of these birds, I'm thinking, because it was with something else, there was a darker bird with spots and red and black. And I now know it's called a spotted towhee. So I thought at first, because they were together, that the golden crowned sparrow was the female of whatever this black and red bird was. But they just happened to be feeding in the same area. So I got a twofer, two birds for one. Excellent. Two lifers right there. There were some things popping around. I briefly caught a black phoebe. I've got those from my previous trip and better photos. Beasts, I've got this brilliant photo of one with some sort of wasp or bee. Yeah, little killers, little hunter killers. And then now I know these birds. I was taking them, just firing away. This is a horrible photo. It was just a record because I was actually on the road and I had to quickly get it before cars come along. And there was a lot of heat, haze and mist. And it's now called, it says it was a Say's Phoebe, S-A-Y''S, Phoebe. So like the black Phoebe, but reddish and duskier. Another lifer. And then I just looked on the map and saw this kind of wood. And I thought, let's just drive along there. And as I did, I thought I could hear pings and birds and cheats. So I pulled over and got out. And it was just, one bird after another. I saw the birds going over into other people's gardens. And people talk to me and they're really interested. Oh, what are you seeing? Have you seen, there's a great horned owl in there. And I told them about this guy pulled up in the car and he said, oh, somebody I know is the warden down at the golf club. The barn owls roost in the scrub on the ground. So that must be what the American barn owls do. I'll have to see if they're a subspecies because it definitely looked darker than ours. So I'll have to go, I'll have to see if that's a subspecies or something, a ground nesting barn owl. And the great horned owl, I didn't see anything. Maybe I'll have to figure if I can do that one evening, go looking for it. I wouldn't know where to start. But I was firing away at these birds and Hutton's vireo. There were going to be birds that I think like our goldcrest here, their version is called a kinglet, ruby crowned kinglet, I believe, from looking at other people's posts online over the years. And then there was a chestnut-backed chickadee that looks a bit like a marsh tit or a great tit from the UK, but with chestnut flanks and horrible backlit. But I was just getting pictures just for record and ID purposes. And this woodpecker landed on a tree. I walked into the wood to try and get a better photo. It didn't seem too jumpy. I got some video and some photos. Did I get video? I think I might have got video, but it doesn't matter because later on, it's called an acorn woodpecker. I only recently heard of this species before I left. I saw somebody post and I thought, I wonder if I'll see an acorn woodpecker. But later on, I got some video in terrible lighting, but more filling the frame of this one. I thought another bird I got, it looked familiar. I didn't clock it straight away, but it's a dark-eyed junco. And it landed on the ground. I fired the shots off. Really, it was like I was working at like 5,000, 6,400 ISO at this point. The light had really gone. And it jumped up onto this tap. And I thought, oh great, it's gonna have a drink. So I believe I've hand filmed that a little bit, got some footage, and I managed to get some snaps, definitely got some snaps. And I have looked at them, they've cleaned up pretty well. Not too bad considering they were like 5,000 ISO and 1/50th shutter speed. They came out pretty sharp, not too bad. And there were these, well, okay, let's take you to how I got to this area. Once I'd finished in that wood and I'd spoken to a few people, went down to the golf course and I said, Anna doesn't want to walk. So we parked up and I angled her towards the sun so she could get the sunset. And I walked off into the dunes. There's a kind of walkway. I didn't know where it went. I just saw trees. I thought there were going to be birds down there. And when you go to the end of the walkway and I could hear singing, and it was a live band. Well, it was a singer with a couple of musicians with her. And it was a kind of casual pub atmosphere. There was a photographer. So some sort of conference events thing. There were people walking around with name tags and things. I'm not sure. Country club. I didn't know what it was. But outdoor wood buildings, log cabins and things like that. And people were very interested. Oh, look at the size of that lens and that tripod. And this is when I started seeing these little nuthatches jumping about. There were dozens of them, and I got some video and photos, decent ones, even though, again, 5,000 ISO, 1/50th of a second shutter speed. Pygmy nuthatch, I mean, they were blue tit size, very, very tiny, and making tiny little chirps. And yeah, there were several of these acorn woodpeckers hunting from trees. The merlin picked up a northern flicker. Now I need that as a lifer. Couldn't find where it was. So I'm sure I'll get that here. I have a good feeling. We're going to be we're here for another 3 days. We'll have a very good chance of getting a northern flicker, a very famous bird. Here in America, very common apparently. So it'll just be a bit of time until we get one. And back at the forest, I forgot about this. I might have got this, and I better go through my Costa Rica list. A Townsend's warbler. If I got that bird, I think I would have remembered it. But it could be like the prairie warbler they got in Costa Rica that I thought I got in Jamaica as a lifer. So Townsend's warbler, if anything, I know I've got the best pictures of it, whatever, this time round at the forest, around the corner, down the road in Monterey. Yes, finally. Right, okay, I think we've caught up, thankfully. I had to do this before we're going to go and get some breakfast. And so yesterday got me 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 lifers. Fingers crossed, you know, give or take some mistakes and things like that. I've yet to go through the other bits and find out 100%. But I think, yeah, that's about right. Yeah, so thank goodness I've caught up. Yeah, I think we'll just end it there. You've listened for long enough. That was a big, long catch up to bring everything together, and you need a break, I need a break, and we're going to go and have some breakfast. Speak to you later on.